Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to invite Mayor Miller and William Lichtenstein to come up with me for these awards. This is undoubtedly one of my greatest pleasures as Chief of Police, to recognize officers who have done an outstanding job and given a tremendous service to Lakewood Township, as well as some of the officers that have worked extremely diligently and are recognize their promotions this evening. The Lakewood officers have no easy job. Lakewood, if it's not the fifth, soon will be the fifth largest city in New Jersey, the fastest growing city in New Jersey, and one of the most racially and ethnically diverse. So the officers do not have an easy job, and they do it extremely well. So it really is a pleasure to recognize them for some of the work that they do. The officers who you're going to see recognized tonight are really just the tip of the iceberg. The officers are out there every day doing a great job for all segments of the community. So without further delay, I would like to announce the officers who are being awarded this evening. The first award is a meritorious award, and we are awarding it to Police Officer Carl Must. If I call your name and you're here, please come up. Police Officer Ralph Hatt, and Police Officer Eric Mann. These officers are being awarded for an incident that took place on January 6, 2011. Officers responded to a bank robbery in progress. Unfortunately, I think due to this tough economy, we're having more banks robbed lately. But we're catching more bad guys too. So. The dispatch advised the officers there was a man building up the bank claiming that he had a bomb in his possession. And he was demanding $250,000 or else he was going to detonate the bomb. The officers took a tactical position outside the bank, and when the subject exited the bank, they ran up behind the subject as he was attempting to leave the scene. They engaged the suspect, and actually one of the officers tackled him, took him to the ground, and took him into custody. Thank goodness it wasn't a real bomb, or else these officers might not be here. But at great risk to themselves, because they didn't know it wasn't a real bomb, they were able to apprehend the suspect. So, Eric, congratulations. Unfortunately, officers Must and Hatt are not with us here tonight. The next award is for exceptional service, and it's awarded to Sergeant Chris Spagnuolo, Eric Mint, Jose Marrero, and Officer Lenny Nieves Jr. Anybody here? Come on up. We have more no-show. Some of these officers may have worked and just gotten off or are busy on the road, so that's the reason that some of the officers may not be able to be here.
I was hoping you were going to give somebody off the clock.
No, we're understaffed. I can't do that. Just a quick synopsis of why they're receiving the award. This was on April 24th. Officers responded to an alarm call at the Four Seasons Car Wash out on Route 70. While en route, the officers were informed by dispatch that the owner had set up a surveillance camera, and the owner was sitting at home watching these individuals going through her business after they had broken into the car wash. She saw two males that were in the process of burglarizing her business. Officers took up positions outside the business, and when the suspects exited, they chased the suspect into the dark wooded area where they apprehended the suspects a short time later. So They did a great job. So let's give them another round of applause. The next award is a life-saving award, and it's for Officer Abdulio Serrano. Unfortunately, his mother passed away, and right now he is at her funeral, so he is not here. But I'd just like to describe why he is getting this award for life-saving. On May 19, 2011, Officer Serrano responded to a medical alert of a non-responsive 78-year-old woman. Upon arrival, the officer advised the woman slumped over inside a vehicle, and the vehicle was locked. The officer quickly unlocked the vehicle, utilizing his unlocking device, and once he secured the woman, he administered first aid and connected her to one of the automatic external defibrillators that we have in our police vehicles, and he started chest compressions on the victim. Officer Serrano's action kept the woman alive until she was transported to the hospital. Unfortunately, she did pass away, but at least he gave her a fighting chance, and his actions certainly merit the life-saving award. The next award is for exceptional service, and it's being awarded to Police Officer Justin Peterson, Christopher DiBiase, and Eduardo Vega. On May 20th, 2011, Officer Vega located a suspect that had recently robbed a female at gunpoint and was also wanted for warrants in the amount of $250,000. The officer called for backup and approached the suspect. The suspect immediately began resisting the officers and fighting. The officers were joined by several other officers and finally were able to control the suspect and place him under arrest. Well, through the suspect's fighting and resistance, Officer Peterson sustained a minor injury. He was treated at Kimball Medical Center and released. So I applaud these officers for their actions. Great job. The next award is for exceptional service, again for Ralph Hatt, who is not here, and for Detective Oscar Valman, and I don't believe he's here either. But I'd like to tell you about what this award is for. During the month of June 2011, a bank robbery took place at Harmony Bank on Route 9. Officer Hatt checked the area and based on a subject description, located a vehicle that matched the suspect vehicle, but he could not determine if this was indeed the suspect. But through investigations and interviews led by Detective Valman, Officer Hatt, the other officers were able to locate and arrest the suspect for this crime. So they did a great job. Let's give them a round of applause. The next award is Exceptional Service by Officer John Novak. John works the midnight shift, so he may not want to get up this early. This was on March 22nd, 2011. Officer Novak approached a suspicious vehicle in the parking lot by Cedar Bridge Avenue and Center Street. Upon his approach, the occupant exited the vehicle and attempted to walk away. The officer immediately ordered the subject back into the vehicle. Through the officer's investigative efforts, an arrest was effected, and a loaded handgun, as well as a large quantity of marijuana, was recovered. So, great job by Officer Novak. The next award is a communications citation. The communications officers really are the unsung heroes of the police department. They do not get a lot of recognition, and they have a high-stress, demanding job, and they certainly deserve it. And it really is a pleasure this evening to present this award to Natalie Bowling, Claudia Sachs, John Gaiman, and Denise McCoy. Please come up. This award is being given to our communication officers who were working the day of January 14, 2011, which is a day that will live in infamy forever in the annals of the Lakewood Police Department. And I'm sure you realize that was the day that our brother officer, Chris Matlos, was cold-bloodedly murdered. An event like this would cause most people to panic. Myself, as chief of the department, an officer with over 30 years experience, it shook me to my roots when I responded to the scene and saw the murdered officer. Our communications personnel here kept a high level of professionalism and tremendous composure in one of the most heartfelt and unfortunate events in our history, and they are certainly to be congratulated for the tremendous job that they did. Without them and coordinating everything, we probably would not have been able to apprehend the suspect as quickly as we did. So, thank you. We also have two civilian awards, which it's my pleasure to give out also. The first one is to a group in Lakewood known as Chaveirim. If there are any Chaveirim members.
Lisa, let's go get this picture. Taking you off camera.
Okay, two of our photographers here, and Moshe Doberman sitting back there, one of our police chaplains, is also a member of Chaveirim. Organization I cannot say enough good things about, and it's not because they've made me an honorary member. They're just tremendous. They respond to anybody who calls for assistance. I know personally they've gotten my wife out of a locked vehicle twice when she locked herself in and out rather. Well, I want to admit but they respond to numerous calls on a daily basis and do such a tremendous job for our community. They deserve our heartfelt thanks. There was an incident, one incident that just comes to mind, the most recent one, approximately 2 weeks ago on a sweltering hot evening. We lost power in the north end of town, right around Route 9 and County Line Road, Route 9 and Kennedy Boulevard, and some nearby locations. We had to staff those intersections with police officers, and I didn't have enough officers working. So I picked up the phone, I called Chaveirim. They responded with, I believe, 8 or 9 or maybe even 10 people, and they staffed those intersections for us for hours. I think it was close to 3 hours before the power was turned back on. This is the type of thing they do. Most of the Chaveirim members I have certified through OEM, so they're members of our Office of Emergency Management, and they're there to respond for all of Lakewood, for whatever we need them to do. And they're always there for us, so I'd like to give them a big round of applause. Every Chaveirim member is a volunteer. They don't get paid for this, so they really have our gratitude for coming out under extraordinary circumstances. Sometimes those snowstorms that we had this past year and the year before, they were there, even pulling police cars out of some of the snowbanks. So they have our gratitude and the gratitude of the whole community. So thanks again. Okay, the next civilian award goes to Moshe Langkry. Moshe, come on up. Who makes the best pizza in Lakewood? Let me tell you a little about Moshe Langkry, although I'm sure I don't have to. Moshe's got an extremely big heart, is very generous. He has supported the police department time after time. We have our annual night out against crime, which, by the way, is this coming Tuesday out at Pine Park, so please all come out. He's there with dozens of pizza. Just several weeks ago, we had our youth academy out at Ocean County Park for a week. And at the final day, we have a luncheon for the campers or the youth that are attending it. And Moshe was there to provide the pizzas for the luncheon. He's always there when we need him to give us sustenance, both through food and support, and he has our undying thanks. Thank you so much. Okay, finally, I'd like to recognize some promotions that were made this year. It's not an easy job to get promoted in any police department, but especially one that's civil service like Lakewood. You have to take a civil service examination, and they more or less give you probably 7 or 8 books this thick to study, from which they extract an eyedropper of information to test you on. So you really have to be dedicated. You really have to be devoted, and you have to study hard, devote time and effort and money to get in a position where you can be promoted. And I'm happy to say all of these officers were people that I personally would have picked to fill the positions they were promoted into, because they've done such an outstanding job. The first promotion from lieutenant to captain is for Detective Captain Paul Daly. Paul, Captain Daly is a 27-year-plus veteran of the police department. He has spent a lot of time working in the Detective Bureau. When he was promoted to sergeant, he worked in patrol, and within the last year or so, I put Paul back in the Detective Bureau. He's one of the most outstanding detectives in the entire county, and we're very lucky to have him supervising our detective bureau. Next promotion is to captain also, and it's Captain Gregory Meyer. Unfortunately, Greg could not be here. He had some family plans this evening, and he would have been in big trouble with his wife if he was here, so we excuse him. Greg is also about a 25-year veteran. Has worked his entire career in patrol. In fact, the last decade, he ran the midnight shift. So it's a well-deserved promotion to captain, and he's actually filling a dual role, not only as a patrol division commander, but also as an administrative captain. Okay, on to lieutenants. The first lieutenant's promotion is Lieutenant Louis Sasso. Lou has certainly been a rock in patrol, where he has spent his career. Lou came out #1 on the list, and the list was within, I think, a week or two of expiring. And I remember promising his son, yes, I'm going to promote him. So Lou does a great job day in, day out, and currently Lou supervises the evening shift. So Lou, keep up the good work. The next promotion to lieutenant is Tom Langenberger. As a sergeant, Tom spent his time in communications. It was a job that was sorely needed. He reorganized and made the communications department more efficient and did an outstanding job. Currently, Tom is assigned to the midnight shift as the watch commander there. And when it comes to community policing, Tom is one of the best at it. So I'd like to give Tom a big round of applause. Okay, the final promotions are to sergeants. I don't know if we have any here. Sergeant James Finnegan, Sergeant Chris Spagnolo, and Sergeant Gregory Stafford-Smith. I'd also like to acknowledge 2 retirements. The first, Captain Michael Mooney retired in December, the end of December last year. Did an outstanding job for us as the Patrol Division Commander. I'm sorry he couldn't be here tonight. I think within days after he retired, he had a heart attack. Good job to do that to you. But fortunately, he has completely recovered, and we certainly extend to him our best wishes in his retirement. The second retiree, whose retirement is effective as of Monday, is Deputy Chief Charles Smith. Chuck is a 33-year veteran of the police department, has spent almost all of his career in patrol until he attained the rank of deputy chief. He became my chief of operations and also the chief of Homeland Security, and he just did a tremendous job for us. So we'd also like to wish him well in retirement. Just another note for all the officers who received awards. I'd like to invite anybody, friends and family, to go up to the second floor, conference room C. There will be some light refreshments up there, so you can enjoy that. Also, we have flyers here about the awards that were given tonight. They're over on this table, so please, if you're interested in who got what awards, help yourself to one of the flyers on that table. Finally, I would like to thank the mayor and our police liaison, Mayor Lichtenstein, for their support of me and the entire police department. It's not their choice that the police department is shorthanded. In fact, they have just approved with the rest of the committee us hiring additional officers, and we're in the process of doing that. And within the next month or so, we will have approximately 5 or 6 new officers of the police department. So thank you very much. Thank you so much for coming tonight to helping us celebrate and recognize the officers for their promotions. Mayor.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes.
Certainly, being the mayor at this point in time is exciting. This is certainly a special night to be here. Yet at the same time, one cannot help but remember that day which we spoke about, which will go down in infamy. At this point, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to remember our officer who passed away in the line of duty. I'd like to switch for a moment from the mayoral hat and put on, as some of you know, in my civilian life, I'm a chaplain with the United States Air Force. I'd like to put on my chaplain hat, or the hat of a rabbi, and offer a prayer. Please bow your heads in prayer. Father, please help the men and women of the police department. Give them strength when they are weary, for they must work overtime. Give them courage, for the streets can be dangerous and hostile for them. Lift their spirits when people can scream insults or public criticisms. Heal their hearts when they must take a life in the line of duty. Heal their bodies when they are injured in the line of duty. Heal their souls when one of their own loses their life in the line of duty. Father in heaven, watch over them and keep them safe as they go through their day. And Father, let us remember that all those who wear the badge and carry the guns are husbands, wives, sons, daughters, mothers, and fathers. They are friends and they are neighbors, which they are instructed to love as thyself. Let us all say, Amen. Congratulations. We're going to take a few-minute break right now, so everyone can go on to the
Let's say one more thing.
My apologies, but I forgot to recognize one officer, the officer really who was responsible for putting this all together, and that's Officer Rob Shamata. I made a mental note to do that, but unless I write it down, I forget. So Rob was responsible for getting all the awards, putting them together, and even writing up the synopsis for me. So he just does a great job, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys.